All right, guys, so let's get started. I want to try to not go so fast this time because I really want you to understand what's happening. So let's just look at this CFS. It says name a variable after one part of the problem, translate the problem into an equation with a variable. So before we do that, we want to read the problem and figure out what we're finding. Moving forward, we're looking for our find first. So John was gifted a pack of crayons. He gave 13 crayons to his friend Ria and was left with 11 crayons. How many crayons did the pack contain? So we're finding how many crayons did the pack contain? So basically, that's also saying like, how many crayons in total did you have, right? So what do we know? We know that he had a pack of crayons. We know he gave 13. Right? And we know he was left with 11 crayons. So something happened to something and he was left with something. So we know he was left with 11 crayons. So in the end, he had 11. So something happened. Do we know what happened? We know he gave crayons away. So something was subtracted from 13. Do we know what he had initially? No. So the amount was subtracted from 13, and in the end, he had 11. Now, that is our equation. When we solve our equations, we do the inverse operation to get x by itself. X by itself means on one side will be x, on the other side will be a total, right? So the inverse operation of minus 13 will be plus 13. And when you add 13 to both sides, those 13s cancel out, and 11 plus 13 equals 24. And now we know that he initially had, how many crayons did the pack contain? He had 11 crayons. Let's look at this one. Melanie works as a nanny and is paid $14 per hour. If she puts 40 hours of work in 7 days, how much does she earn in a week? So we're trying to figure out find if she worked 40 hours, then how much did she earn? So what do we know? We know that she was paid $14 per hour, and we know she worked a total of 40 hours. We also know that per represents a variable. So she worked 14 hours, $14 per hour, right? And in total, she made something. But X represents per hour. However, if we go back to our knowledge, we know how many hours. We know she worked 40 hours. So thus 14 times 40 equals 560. So that lets us know that in 40 hours, she made $560. Let's look at this one. Trevor takes up a test at school and completes it in an hour. The test has two sections. If he takes 35 minutes to complete the first section, how much time does he have left to complete the second session? So we're finding if 35 minutes is section 1, how many minutes is section 2? Now, what do we know? We know he completes in an hour. We also know an hour equals 60 minutes. And we know we're going to talk about minutes because we want our conversions to line up. Since we're talking about minutes, we want to make sure hours are converted into minutes. We also know that 35 minutes for first section. Now we're creating an equation. We know 35 minutes, which is first section, and then you have another section equals 60 minutes. $35 minutes plus another section equals 60 minutes. So you go ahead and solve. How much time does he have left? I'm not answering it. You have to solve. Jamie paid the rent well past the due date. If she paid rent past the due date, for the month of April, May, and June, as a result, he had been charged a total of $75 a late fee. How much did he pay as a late fee? How much did he pay as a late fee per month? We know that he was late on 3 months. And we know 3 months costed him $75. So we know how many months. We don't know how much he was charged for the month, but he do know in the total he had to pay $75. So go ahead and use the inverse operation of multiplication to solve. Laura and May participated in a quiz contest. They scored 23 points in all. If Laura scored 9 points, how many points did May score? So we're finding how many points did May score if Laura scored 9 points. What do we know? We know they scored 23 points in total. And we know Laura scored 9 points. So we know 9 points plus another amount of points equals 23 points in total. Right here, solve. How many points did Laura score? And how can you use inverse operation to solve this? We just did some practice. I just helped you guys understand a few practices. So make sure you write what you're finding first, then write what you know about the problem. Then create your equation. For the next problem, write what you're finding first, then write what you know, and then write your equation. Last but not least, write what you're finding, write what you know, and then equation. That's all. Remember, go ahead and go back to the notes if you're confused. Have a great evening and make sure you correctly solve this homework because it is graded.